Welcome to Whispering Loudly, the award-winning Workshop Whisperer podcast, as featured by Apple, with Rachel Evans, the #1 automotive business coach in the aftermarket. Thanks to Platinum sponsor Podium, Titanium sponsor Mechanic Desk, and Diamond sponsor Ventavid.
Whispering Loudly is the Workshop Whisperer podcast with Rachel Evans, and we're really excited to have you with us today. We love that our podcast is, well listened to around the world.
It's quite mind-blowing, Mel, where we see people are listening from. It's amazing.
But your clients are international too, right?
Yeah.
So what sort of things have you noticed, some differences, for example, with the Australian auto repair market and your clients in the US, for example?
I think there's a distinctly different focus with what we do with the money that we make from our auto repair shops. So in Australia, we are quite focused on the lifestyle that we can have away from our business.
Okay. The boat, for example? Or
holidays, camping, doing the big lap, all that kind of thing.
Big lap.
And in the US, just more focused on making more money. So not so focused on downtime, but rather, okay, if this is a winning strategy, how do we amplify that? Which is not to say that we don't do that in Australia, but in Australia we really like our downtime.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And please rate and review the podcast wherever you listen, because Rachel brings you this content free every week. And so you can do something for us. It only takes 1 minute of your time and it's 100% free. So essential listening, this person says. Rachel helps workshop owners navigate the world as both automotive specialists and budding entrepreneurs. So true. Her workshop Whispering helps busy technicians make the most of their business with a healthy focus on work, life balance and profit. What do you think of that,
What a great review.
She says thank you so much for that one. Coming up next, JFDI. Just flippin' do it.
JFDI, with the Workshop Whisperer, Rachel Evans, a coaching masterclass for the brave.
Whispering Loudly is the Workshop Whisperer podcast. Today we have Just Flippin' Do It. In this episode, Rachel is going to tell you why you should only accept full payment at the end of service. Thank you so much for this advice today, Rach. Dive in, tell us about it.
Okay, well, this one deserves a JFDI because there are too many of you allowing vehicles to leave the workshop without payment.
Oh, goodness, yeah.
Now, I'm not talking about fleet cars where you've got an arrangement with the fleet company. That is different. But I am talking about your everyday customer base where you're either too busy because of poor process or not enough team members to generate an invoice before the customer arrives to pick up the vehicle. So you just throw them the keys and say, I'll shoot that over by email. Yeah. Or you are feeling sorry for your customers and you are allowing them to enter into payment arrangements. Okay. Now, let's talk about that second one first, allowing your customers to enter into payment arrangements. There is absolutely no reason on God's green earth that you should be financing payment arrangements for your customers in this day and age, because there are so many companies that will do that for you. Yes, so okay. I won't mention them here, but I'm sure you're aware, of the various services that will allow a customer to set up, a few months interest free or whatever it is. And you can be a provider or a third party provider of those services. Okay. And they, the company rather that provides those then takes the risk, not you. Mm. Yes,
and they also do all the admin, right? Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. And yes, there is a fee attached for you providing that so that your customer can use the service, but that's a cost of doing business in this way if you want to allow those people to patronise your business. So let them use those services. People that need a payment arrangement that don't sort something out with you firsthand, that you knew about it in advance and you agreed to it. I still don't think you should do it because you're not a bank. But somebody that just rocks
She's not
up,
happy about it.
Somebody that just rocks up, oh, I'm sorry, I can't pay you till payday. That's a big red flag that person is probably going to default on any arrangement that you make with them. So let the payment option companies bear that risk. Set it up for them. and allow it. And if they don't pass the credit test with them, then that's a great indication that you shouldn't proceed any further.
Want to find out how the Workshop Whisperer team can put your auto repair shop on the path to business success? Head to www.workshopwhisperer.com/whispering loudly to claim your free workshop success session with the team.
When you allow a payment arrangement that you finance, so say the bill's $1,000 and you let them pay $100 a week, well, you're going to go into negative cash flow on that job because you're going to have to pay your team members and for your parts before the customer completes paying for the job. And do that often enough and you'll get into a cash flow hole. Yeah. So then there's the stress if the customer doesn't make a payment and, they stop answering their phone and then you've got to write that money off and whatever else. And it's just not worth going down that path. You are not a bank. Yeah. People have to come to you with their own finance. And if they don't, then have 2 or 3 of those finance options available for them to use. And if they can't use those, then they're not your customer. Let it go. Moving back to the first point that I made with if you're too busy or your systems aren't good enough or you're down a team member and you're not getting your invoices out to the customer so that they can pay there on the spot, huge red flag that you need to change that because you're going to be in the same situation. Your future self is not going to thank you for letting a car go without an invoice being generated. You'll be staying behind doing paperwork, trying to get those invoices out. The customer is not under any urgency to get that money to you.
Yeah.
So pay on the day is essential. If you are running around that busy and you're not invoicing, it obviously shows that you're missing someone in the office, so out the front with the customers. So let's hire a service advisor. If you think you're not in a position to do that, then let's at least get somebody there for that latter part of the day, maybe from 12 o'clock till close.
Okay, that's a good idea. I've never heard about that before.
They're just for invoicing to start with. Let's start there so that no customer is coming in and picking up their car without having made payment because you will fall into a negative cash flow situation as well. And then you have customers who, a big pile of them sitting in your accounts receivable. And you might get to the end of the month and need to pay your bills, but you don't have the money because you never got those customers to pay on the day. So this should be an eye-opener for you if you're listening and any of those things are happening in your shop, to do something about it. Don't just keep on keeping on. If you want your cash flow troubles to end, then invoice and collect payment for everyone in your general mum and dad small business owner database, get them to pay on the day.
These episodes are so insightful, aren't they? And if you want to listen to another JFDI, just put it in your search bar, JFDI, and the other episodes should come up. We've got ones on the importance of upselling, how COVID vaccinations will affect you and your team, and also monitoring your numbers and the amazing effect that will have on your business growth. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast.
Thanks for listening to Whispering Loudly, the award-winning Workshop Whisperer podcast, as featured by Apple with Rachel Evans, the #1 automotive business coach in the aftermarket. Thanks to Platinum sponsor Podium, Titanium sponsor Mechanic Desk, and Diamond sponsor Ventavid.